Hey, knuckleheads. So this is a new thing we're doing with the team. I'm not sure what we're going to call it, but it's going to be one question with me, one question for me, and it's going to be an opportunity for me to dive a little bit deeper in the business or anything, and talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff that we don't really have an opportunity to talk about on social media with just the limited video length and attention spans and all that. Um, and, for those of you that are interested in knowing more about Farrell at a deeper level, or me, this video series could be fun. I'm a little under the weather today, so sorry if I sniffle. So the question came from the team today. What Where do you see Farrell going over the next 5 years? And it's an interesting one. Yeah, I had a second to think about it, but I don't have any notes, so we're just going to riff a little bit. I guess the first thing I would say is that 5 years is a really long time horizon, especially today. If you think about where the outdoor industry is, where technology is, shopping behaviors, all of those things. I joke a lot that 95% of my job is predicting the future, which is another way of saying maybe I'm really bad at 95% of my job. But a lot of the decisions I have to make are projections, right? So, what are the things that I think customers are going to want to shop next season? How many team members do I think we need to staff for the summer? A lot of it is projecting, my thoughts into the future, and that's probably never been harder than it is today. So I think maybe I'll just focus on maybe the next 2 years, what my best guess is for that, and then we'll just assume that anything beyond that's beyond the horizon and probably low probability of coming true. So um, the first thing I'll say is that we have been cooking up a lot of stuff, but I think it's important to plant this flag. Um, Everything that we're doing from a planning perspective or technology perspective is anchored from a position of wanting to keep the shopping experience in our physical stores the same that it is today. And what I mean by that is the same energy, the same friendliness, the same just authentic, genuine neighborhood shop thing. That's who we are. We're a neighborhood shop first. Um, that's what I want to be. That's what inspires me. That's what I enjoy. Uh, you know, I that's who we are, and we're going to stay that way. Um, and any technologies we deploy or any new processes or fun things are going to start from a position of wanting to retain that. Because in spite of all the AI and things that are happening, I just believe that matters and connectivity matters and people want to live and shop and eat in communities. And if I end up being wrong about that, then I'll be wrong about that, and you guys will prove me wrong, and those places won't exist one day, and maybe who knows. But I just don't think that's where we're at, and I don't think that's where we're heading in the near term. Now, obviously, a lot more people shop online. We have a website, so we're going to deploy things in that space as well. But none of those things will be done at the expense of what it means to shop in a store. But I think it's really important to plant that flag. But having said that, technology is a really big deal to us. We're probably so we have an in-house full-time software developer. Shout out to Josiah, he's a rock star. And I would guess we're probably one of the smallest retail businesses around in the country, maybe, I don't know, that has an in-house full-time software developer. And that's a significant investment for a small business. But we do that because one, our business is weird. It's unique. There's really not an out of the box software that works for the way we buy gear, the way we sell things, the way we work in multi channel. We tried a lot of stuff, it all sucked. And it took away from the customer experience. And we realized that if we wanted to have a unique experience, we had to have unique processes. So we take that very seriously. Because I think those are the little things. And it's a big thing, but those are the things that show up in your experience at Farrell in a completely hidden and magical way. Um, you know, so that's a big deal to us. So where do we deploy those things? The most uh, common place that we deploy that technology is at the back desk when we buy gear from customers. So we are doing a lot of things from a technology perspective over the next 3, 6, 12 months that are probably going to fundamentally shift the way people shop at Farrell and the way people sell at Farrell. Now, like I said, not necessarily in the physical space the way you shop, because we want to make sure we've got the best prices in town. That's not going to change. As tariffs, and no secret, this isn't a political statement. Prices have gone up. If you don't think that, just come see your boy. I'll show you the receipts. Pretty much every brand in every industry has to operate under the assumption, regardless of where tariffs land, that they're going to stick. They've raised prices. They'll continue to raise prices. That's in every industry. We're not immune to that. But as those new prices have gone up, we haven't raised our used prices. So 12 months ago, our used prices were already great. We stand by that. We whiff sometimes. We're not perfect, but most of the time, you're not going to buy that thing cheaper somewhere else. But as new prices have gone up, we haven't raised our used baseline. So where we had a really great standard deviation between new and used prices 12 months ago, that deviation has actually gotten larger as new prices have gone up and we've held used prices steady. I'm so proud of that. That hasn't been easy, but it's something we care a lot about. We want to make these things more accessible to people. That's why we started the whole used business. That was the whole point. And I'm proud of the fact that we've stood our ground there, where most used retail shops, and I've been in most of them, not just in Denver, but everywhere. Price used gear, to make as much money as possible. There's no I don't know. I don't know a better way to say that. But if the new item is $100, they'll try to sell the used version of that at whatever price is not going to offend you. And that's a way to run a business. I just don't think that's a way to sustainably run a business, because I think trust is important, and ultimately we have to differentiate somehow. Why would you come shop at Farrell instead of REI? I have to give you a compelling reason to do that, and that reason, as far as I'm concerned, should start with price, and we can control that. So I want your trust. We want to earn that relationship, and I think that's step one. I remember where I was at, but we were talking about technology. So we're going to keep prices low. So how do we do that? There's this obvious tension there that I think some people have noticed and some people haven't noticed. And that is, all of our used stuff, someone has to choose to sell it to us, right? And a lot of times that's you. And if we're passing value on to the shopper, that means we have to get value when we purchase the stuff, right? We have to, that's how we pass that value on to you when you're shopping. So then the question is, well, if Farrell's offering me $1 less for the thing, why would I sell it at Farrell if I could sell it on Marketplace or other shops in town. And the answer is very simple. We're the most convenient place to sell your stuff, full stop. We're not always perfect. If you come in at noon on a Sunday, we're probably getting our butts kicked, and that's going to be tough. But we work really hard to be the easiest place around to take your thing and turn it into a gift card or a dollar. And that's where the value propositions align. If you're shopping, we want to be the most affordable place to shop. To do that, we have to get that inventory at value. To get it at value, we have to be able to offer some sort of value proposition to the person selling it, and that value is convenience and speed. We want selling your stuff at Farrell to be really painless. And we know selling your stuff at other places is not always that. We're not a consignment model. Consignment models can be difficult. You have to wait to get paid. You have to hope it sells. You have to wait weeks to get your money. You have to adjudicate price. There's all these things. There's this whole process. We just say, you know what? We stand down on that. If you want an extra buck and you want to go through the process of that, that is your best option, but that's not us. We can make this really simple for you and convenient. And those are the two value propositions we offer, and that's how that works. That's where technology comes in. We're deploying technology in our store to continue to improve the value proposition of convenience of selling. We're deploying some software that I'm actually going to start testing this afternoon. I'm really excited about. That's going to make it easier and easier and easier to sell. And I feel very strongly that we are already the easiest place, and we want to continue to be the easiest place. We don't want anybody. We know people are nipping on our heels, and we don't want them to catch up. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So now that'll be mostly invisible to you. I think maybe on the 3 or 4 month horizon, you'll start to see some of that technology deployed at the back desk, maybe in the 6 to 12 month horizon. But for the most part, not much will visibly change for you. It's just you'll wake up 12 months from now and it'll just be easier at Farrell and you won't know why. And I'm really excited about that because that makes the job of working at the back desk much easier. I can tell you our team that works at the back desk, particularly on Saturday and Sunday, they are getting beat up. It is not an easy job. It's relentless. It's all day, full on. And I also want to be able to deploy some technology that makes the job of quoting gear easier for our team, because that's really important to me. So that's the first thing that's going to change kind of in the immediate horizon, is deploying technology to make it much easier for you to sell your stuff at Farrell, which will in turn continue to help us drive prices down for our used business for our customers. But there's more. What's really fun about the technology that we're developing is it's going to help us bridge the gap between the shopping experience in our physical store and on our website. That's been a big challenge for me. We care a lot about the physical spaces in the stores. And we know we have to continue to get better online for Farrell to grow, for Farrell to sustain. But the experience between shopping in the physical space and shopping on our website is just different. And for some obvious reasons, but the gap between the two, to me, has been unacceptable. We really want to get to a place where, to the extent that is possible, shopping on our website much more closely aligns with the experience that someone might have when they shop in our physical space. And that starts with the used business, right? So I think the magic of shopping at Farrell, aside from the people we have, is the hunt. It's walking into the used section and just sniffing it out, just looking for something fun or quirky or weird or a great price. like that experience is just completely missing, not only from our website but also from the internet in general. Um, and we want to try to recreate that. We want to try to get our website to a place where, sure, it's never going to be as fun as the hunt in the store, but you can kind of see the alignment between the two. So we're moving in that direction, and this technology is going to help us get there by helping us process used inventory faster. So a lot of you don't know this. We have significantly more used inventory than you see in the store. Um, I'm not going to say by how much, but it might really surprise you. We've been really aggressive at onboarding inventory over the last few years because we wanted to be able to potentially like open another store like we did in Grand Rapids, but also expand into the online space, but also just make sure we always have good options for you. Now, there's some categories that it's difficult to find used inventory. So, like an example would be trekking poles. People blow trekking poles up. You know, most people get them, and if they love them, they eventually just blow them out, and there's just not a lot of trekking poles on the aftermarket. So I can tell you, we're never going to have 75 trekking poles in the back for you to select from because you probably blew them up anyway. Um, but other categories like jackets and clothing and sleeping bags and things like that, we've been very aggressive in trying to make sure that we can maintain a large selection for our customers. And that has put us in a position that put us in the position we're in now, which is if we could just figure out how to unlock the online space at scale, we could significantly increase the amount of inventory that you have to select from. And that's just a technology problem. I will tell you, it's been a bloodbath in the outdoor industry over the last few years. We've lost so many independent outdoor stores. If you only shop locally, you wouldn't know. But Minneapolis lost their big shop. Was it is it Tucson? There was a big shop out in Arizona that just closed. It's been there forever. We just lost a big shop out in the Pacific Northwest that's been selling used gear forever. It's been a bloodletting in the outdoor industry over the next couple of years. And what I can tell you is pretty much every independent outdoor store out there, if they don't already sell used stuff, they're trying to figure it out. And those that have been selling used items for a long time are now trying to figure out how do they do it online, right? This is it's a new epoch in the outdoor industry. And I'm very grateful that we've been doing this now for a long time because we've learned a lot of lessons that a lot of other outdoor gear shops are learning right now the hard way. But this technology is going to allow us to significantly expand online. And we're hoping in the next 6 to 12 months, the experience that you see on our website is going to much more closely align with the experience that you see in our store. You may have seen that used stuff is starting to sprinkle on there. But I think we're going to see a significant acceleration over the next 30 to 60 days. And I'm so excited about that because that is the business I love. That is the part of Farrell that I love, is the used. Just seeing that freaking magic sparkle in somebody's eyes when they just were the fifth place they visited and they saw $400 ski jackets everywhere else, and they walk into Farrell and buy a ski jacket for $60. That's just magic to me. And being able to do more of that and expand our community beyond, Denver and Grand Rapids is such a big deal to me. I want to be able to do more of that, and the website is obviously a multiplier for being able to do that. I think over the next 6 to 12 months, that's what's going to start to shift for Farrell. Is you're going to start to see hopefully a much more efficient and cleaner process at the back desk, consistency and speed. And then I think you'll really start to see our website start to grow up in a way that even if you're a local customer, it will be worth your time to actually go to our website, because all the inventory that we have in the store will be completely different than all the inventory we have on our website. Um, and and I just think that's so much fun and that's so cool. So I'm excited about that. And our focus, I can't put a fine enough point on it. Our focus will always be, how do we maintain the core culture of our physical spaces? Because even though we're a very tech forward company, and we're always thinking about how we deploy technology to make us better at everything we do, our execution and friendliness and connectivity in our physical shops will just always, as long as you'll have us there, will always be our priority. And I'm really excited about that. So I think the best way I can answer the question, where do I see Farrell going over the next couple years, if I could abbreviate the question in that way, would be, I think, continuing to deploy technology at a high level, to make us better at everything we do. And I think some of those things will be a little invisible to our community, and I think that's the way it should be. You're not going to see self-checkout. I don't expect you to see Optimus robots walking around the shop stocking, you know. Um, but there's so much we can do to be better at everything we do by just deploying little technology things here or there to do that. Um, the things I think people really want to hear is, are you going to open more stores? Can we get a shop on the east side of Denver? Are you coming to Lansing? I honestly, I don't know. I think the way I think about our business now, as it applies to stores, is, or as Farrell grows, it's like two levers. Um, how do we gain access to more used inventory so we can share that used inventory with you? And how do we make sure that the surface area for presenting that inventory to our community is on par with the amount of inventory we have, right? So I think one constraint we have for Farrell's growth is just access to used inventory that we can share with you. And then, if we get significantly more used inventory, then we have to catch up the surface area of presenting it to you. What is that? So that might be a physical shop. That might be an expansion of our website. That might be events. That might be, we throw someone in a van and go on a road show. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm agnostic about what precisely form that is. I just want to mostly stay connected to the communities we have, and if there's opportunities to grow our community, then we'll do that only to the extent that we can do it really well. I think about that a lot. Anytime we're always in the lab, the team always has great ideas. And, one thing that's always stuck with me, I had a conversation. I was with Toys R Us and Babies R Us for a decade before I started Farrell. And I had a conversation with our CEO over breakfast one day. And I asked him, one of these like silly corporate questions, I guess, that people ask, which is, I said, what's the hardest thing about his job? And he said something I never forgot. He said, the hardest thing about my job is having the courage to say no to good ideas every day. And what he meant by that was, every company has finite resources, finite bandwidth, and he can only be really focused on so many things to do them well. And he said, if you said yes to every good idea, you'd just get distracted. You can't execute every good idea at a high level. And I love that. I'm obsessed with the idea of being hyper focused on just a few things and just being great at those things. And I love that. So I think a lot about having the courage to say no to good ideas. And there's so many good ideas that we hear from our team, from our community. And I'm trying to stay really focused on the core idea of how do we keep prices of our used items as absolutely low as possible to best serve our community. How do we meet our community with kindness and connectivity in the physical and the digital space? And you know, a lot of you probably don't. 99% of our customers have never shopped with us online, so you don't know this. But every single time we get an online order, we sit down and we write a hand write a thank you note. You know, and we'll always do that because I think kindness scales, even though most companies don't think that. So that's the way I'm thinking about Farrell. That's the way I'm thinking about where we're going the next couple years. We'll put that in the predictive machine, and you know, check back in with me in a couple years, and we'll see what came true and what didn't. But that's where we're at. And that's what I'm excited about. We'll continue to do this. Just one question, and I'll just ramble on forever. But Whitney wanted me to say this. If anybody has a question, respond to this email with your question, and I'd be so stoked to answer questions from our community. I don't know how often these emails will go out, maybe once a week or once a month. But thanks for joining me, and looking forward to next time.